Wrestling for me was to have fun. They just wanted me to entertain them, and that's what I did. The pinnacle for me was being the Godfather and being able to be myself on TV.
Godfather wouldn't exist in current day wrestling.
No, it would offend too many people. I'm just thankful that I was part of the Attitude Era.
Remember the first time you met The Undertaker?
Yes, I met him in the ring. We became really good friends.
How did you become Papa Shango?
They wanted to hide my face. They thought I had a baby face. Beware, warrior. Beware of Papa Shango.
Oh, it's so good. Two-timer on the show now. Yeah, good to see you.
Yes, sir, man. Two-timer.
Yeah. I've seen you, and I've also seen you twice this week.
Isn't that crazy?
What a week. What a wonderful coincidence that we were both in Austin at the same time, both doing the Undertaker's podcast, and then what a dinner that night.
Man, you guys really ate.
Oh, you know.
I don't know if you noticed, but I did not partake in the way that you guys did.
I was like, it was weird calling the Undertaker Mark. I was like, Mark, what are you ordering? He's like, I'm going with the cowboy ribeye. And I'm like, I had my eye on that, but if you're getting it, then I'm getting it too.
Yes.
You're lean and mean these days.
Trying hard.
Yeah.
I've dropped, since in the last year, I've had my hip and my knee replaced. And I was 310, 312, and now I'm about 245, 250. And I feel great. I hope I look great.
You look great.
But I feel great. But I've really changed how I eat, when I eat, what I eat. And I've really changed a lot about my lifestyle.
What's changed the most?
The way I eat.
So what are you eating now?
I try not to eat, the basics. I try not to eat no sugar, keep my carbs down. I don't eat past 5 o'clock at night. I don't eat till 10 o'clock. I keep the shots of Jack Daniels to a minimum unless Taker's around. I'll call him Taker, not Mark. And, just no bread. I no fast foods.
Yeah.
And not because it's unhealthy, but for some reason, as I've gotten older, I don't like red meat.
Mm.
And nothing about being grass-fed or no. It's just I don't like, every time I do these autograph signings on the weekends, we always look for barbecue spots. And maybe because it's a black thing, I don't know, but everybody always wants to take me to barbecue spots, which is cool. But then I get turkey or I get chicken. They're like, dude, you got to get the ribs. You got to get the brisket. But it's kind of weird. I can't explain it.
You just don't like the way it makes you feel?
I don't have an answer. I don't like the way it tastes anymore. It's just, I don't know. It just doesn't turn me on.
Yeah, it was we ate a lot of food. And look, you didn't eat a lot of food.
I had chicken.
Yeah.
And a salad.
Yes, and I was like, are we getting drinks? Like, this feels like a special occasion because it was Undertaker, it was Godfather, it was Midian and Maven and a few of the rest of us. Like, it feels like a special occasion. We should get a drink. You're like, I can drink, but I'm probably not going to. I was like, I can respect that.
You have no idea. I don't think you were there when Taker did his show here in Vegas, and we talk about it. But I made a complete fool of myself drinking that day. And since then, I've had a different outlook on drinking Jack. So can I drink? Yes, I can drink a lot, unfortunately. But I try to drink as little as possible. There's
something to be said about drinking a clear liquor and drinking a brown liquor.
Right.
And I'm with you. Something about drinking a brown liquor like Jack Daniels, I don't know, man. That's just not the same.
I really, I swear that people are watching this like, yeah, you always say that. I try to keep it to two things I do on airplanes, which you're not supposed to do one of them, but people are like, what are you going to say? Two things, I believe it or not, on the road for some reason, I chew tobacco. I dip snuff on the road for some reason. Once again, don't ask me to explain it, but I do. And I drink Jack Daniels and Cokes on the plane for some reason.
Chewing tobacco and Jack Daniels and Coke are the two things you do on a plane?
That's the two bad things.
Okay.
That's it. Well, you try to always dim me up here. You better be careful with me.
Uh-oh.
I'm in a very good mood.
I love it. I love it. It's so good to see you. And
Yes, it is.
It was so awesome to walk into that restaurant and oh my gosh, there's Charles. And you have this energy about you that I love. I feel like you've never been in a bad mood in your life.
You know, as I've gotten older, I've become wiser and smarter and nicer. And two things that changed my life completely, and we might bring up Mark's name or Taker's a lot because he is my best friend. And that has nothing to do with the wrestling. He is my best friend. So his name might come up a lot, but he knows me better than most. And two things that changed my life at 27 years old. And that's a whole nother story that we should get into about Papa Shango, what actually happened to him. But I tried cannabis for the first time at 27 years old. And at that time, and I'm not mentioning nobody else's name, just mine. I'm doing Somas, Vicodins, Halcyons, Placidils, Percocets. I'm doing all this crap and drinking a bottle of Jack Daniels, but I won't smoke weed. No, I'm not going to do that. But I'll do all the rest of this stuff, but I won't smoke weed. Well, I went through a really hard time as Papa Shango. I had to leave, and somebody got me to try it for the first time in my life. And it really whoa, my shoulders don't hurt like they used to, you know? And I'm like, you know what? I feel like going to the gym. And I went to the gym, and I had the best workout I ever had in my life. And then we went to some place to Taco Bell or something like that. And I had one of those old nasty burritos that I don't even think is meat. I don't know what's inside of it, but I had one of those, and it was the best taco I ever had in my life. And it really got me off of all that stuff. Will I have a shot of Jack? Yes. 2 surgery replacements. I won't do the pills. And Mark would call me, and I'm like, I'm telling you, I do the pills. All they do is make me tired. The cannabis makes me feel better, and it makes me want to, I need to stretch. And I always tell people about cannabis with me. It saved my life. It made me a better person, that and my wife. But it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. It works very well for me.
It's funny because at dinner, Mark was saying, you've had such an impact on his life too. He's like, I didn't have any tattoos before I met you. I didn't like riding bikes before I met you. And I mean, he's joking about a lot of this stuff, but it's funny how both of you guys have influenced each other's lives.
When I met him, I was a full-blown biker. And when I met him, it was hard for me to understand why this big white dude didn't drink Jack, didn't listen to country music, didn't ride Harleys, didn't have tattoos, and I just couldn't understand it because the crowd of people at that time in my life were hardcore bikers. And so I just tell people that I opened his eyes up to a different way of life. And that son of a gun took to it very well.
Do you remember the first time you met The Undertaker?
Yes.
Where was it?
Memphis, Tennessee. I just worked a program with Lawler. They didn't know what to do with me. I'm as green as Kermit the Frog. All right? Taker's been in the business a couple years now. So they said, hey, we're going to bring this big, tall, white kid in to work against you. He's been in the business a couple years. Maybe we can do something with you. So Mark's driving in from Texas. I never get a chance to meet him. Mind you, everything I've done so far is what Jerry Lawler has told me to do in the ring. I know nothing, just what somebody's telling me what to do, which is a whole nother story. So I met him in the ring. We have a match where I really think, I'm like, oh, here's another one of these big-ass white boys I'm going to have to deal with. And so it was a little physical in the ring with me and him. He tells me to throw him out. So I throw him out. I go after him. I'm chasing around one corner, the other corner. I guess he found the chair, what he was looking for. He hit me over the head with the chair so hard that, you know, in the cartoons when you see the stars and little birdies?
Yeah.
I swear I seen that. And he looked down at me and said, do you want to do this the easy way or the hard way? And I said, I think let's do this the easy way. And from that point, we became really good friends from that day.
How did wrestling find you, or did you find wrestling? You were working at a bar, right?
I was working at a bar called the Crazy Horse Saloon. Okay, and they were filming the movie Over the Top, which is Sylvester Stallone arm wrestling picture.
Yeah.
And a lot of those guys, and I think Scott Norton was in that movie, but a lot of those guys would come to the bar. And I'm now Dude, if I could send you some pictures. I'm powerlifting. I'm 6'5". I'm 340. I got a 2,000-pound total. I'm strong. I'm big. And they're just looking at me going, I'm tattooed. They're like, dude, you should be a wrestler. And they're at my bar all the time. And so I did not watch wrestling when I was young. And I grew up in the 70s. I'm not afraid to say I'm 63 years old, right?
Man, you look great.
Thank you.
Look at this.
But I grew up in the 70s, and back then in the Bay Area, roller derby was much bigger than wrestling. And that might be hard to believe, but it was. You'd go to the Cow Palace, and wrestling would sell out half a house, and roller derby would sell it out. And so I grew up on roller derby. So when they came to me, I actually said, I don't want to do that phony-ass wrestling. And then they're like, have you heard of this guy, Bam Bam Bigelow? And I'm like, the dude with the tattoos on his head. Yeah, I've heard of him. And they're like, well, he made $1 million last year. And I went, I swear to God, wrestling? And all my friends were telling me, dude, it's crazy. And I was a whole different person back then. That was the guy Bear. The Taker calls me Bear. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, I did.
He calls me Bear. And that's a whole different cat. But that was Bear, man. And I made a couple calls. I was in wrestling school for maybe a month, at which time, and I'm just going to be honest, I'm going to topless clubs. I'm chasing women. I'm not going to wrestling school. I'm being Big Bear, Biker Bear.
Yeah.
And these guys in New Jersey are like, dude, we ain't never seen a black guy like this. Big tattooed biker, chewing tobacco, drinking Jack, and, doing my thing. And Jerry Lawler seen me, right? And Jerry Lawler, my very first match ever, never learning nothing. Nothing. Is against Jerry Lawler in Memphis on a Monday night, and I go over 1, 2, 3.
Wow.
And all I did is Jerry got in the ring with me, and he goes, do this, do that, do this. He goes, oh, you'll be all right. He goes, you're athletic enough. He goes, all I want you to do is listen to me and do everything I tell you to do, no matter if you think it's stupid or not. Do what I tell you, and that's how I broke into the business.
Wow, your first match against Jerry the King.
Yes.
Wow.
Is that crazy?
That's pretty wild.
Chew it and do it. What a catchphrase. I love it so much. Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in a chewable form. The process is simple. Just sign up at bluechew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. And the best part about it is it's all done online, so there's no trips to the doctor, there's no awkward conversations, and there's no lining up at the pharmacy. Guys, Blue Chew wants to help you out in the bedroom. And that's why they're hooking you up with your first month for free. Yeah, for free. When you go to bluechew.com and you use the code CVV, your first month is free. You just have to pay $5 for shipping. All of the info is at bluechew.com. Don't forget to use that code CVV. And a big thank you to Blue Chew for sponsoring the show.
What's crazy about you is think of how many identities you've had. Think of how many people you've been throughout your life. Of course, you've been Charles throughout it, but you've been Bear, and we can go through the whole list of all the different wrestling characters you've been. But what's been the through line for you?
The best thing for me is Godfather, because Godfather is me. Being a pimp or all that, that's besides the point. It was so nice to be able to just be you. And Godfather is me. I mean, you know me now. You've been around me. I act like this all the time.
Yeah.
I don't act hard. I don't act mean. I try to be funny. And I just enjoy life now, which has made me a better person. So, I mean, everything has basically come to just the pinnacle for me was being the Godfather and being able to be myself on TV. I don't know if you know this. I was never scripted, ever. Was I scripted unless they wanted me to mention a pay-per-view or a town. Back then, they would not ask me what I was going to say at any time. I had carte blanche.
Wow.
Is that crazy?
It's pretty wild.
They just wanted me to entertain them.
How did you come up with the classic line that everybody said? It's time once again. And you know the rest, of course.
To be honest, again, and a lot of things with me will come back to smoking. But that's me and a friend of mine named Kyle Bell. on my days off, doing bong hits in my house, coming up with silly things to say that I would say, I'm going to say this on TV this week, and I'm going to say this on TV this week, and looking at high times and looking at things that was available back then. And just, I tell you, who came up with, remember the Ho Train, where I would wind up in the corner and smash you? Guess who came up with that?
Who?
Shane McMahon.
How did that come together?
We're in the ring, and Shane says, you know what? I want you to, we got to do something where you do that splash in the corner. He goes, I want you to, I can remember it like it was yesterday. He goes, I want you to shoot the guy in the corner. He goes, don't leave him there too long. He goes, but I want you to wind up like a train, like a and he goes, and then smash the guy. And he goes, we're going to call that the Ho Train. And he goes, and it'll be like Smoke Train, but it'll be the, I can't even do it right now. But that's where we got that from.
Wow.
Shane McMahon.
Wow. Let's take it back to when you became Papa Shango. Actually, even before that, who was the Soultaker?
The Soultaker was Biker Bear. And this tattoo on my forearm right here, I'm sure they can't get it, but that is the Soultaker. And when I got to Memphis, they were trying to come up with the name. And he goes, well, what's that name of that guy on your wrist? I'm like, well, that's the Soultaker. He takes, I don't know if you noticed this, but I've got a lot of women.
They don't have their clothes on.
That are being kind of, well, it is what it is. So, but that's where it came from right there.
And what was the Soultaker character?
You know what? I don't really know. He was kind of a biker, and he was more of a biker. He should have been more of a voodoo guy, but he ended up being more of a biker, you know. And then the funny thing is, after I worked with Mark as Mean Mark Callis, we had a couple matches. They put us together as a tag team, and they were called Death Express. And we worked in Memphis as Death Express. That looked kind of like a Road Warrior ripoff with chaps and all that type of stuff.
How did you become Papa Shango?
The WWE hired me. I had a tryout. I was in Germany when I got back I was in Germany for a year. When I got back from Germany, they gave me a call and they're like, we want to give you a tryout. So I go do a tryout, and Vince hires me, and he says, you got a body of a monster. He says, but you have a baby face. He goes, so we want you to just go home, keep training, because at that point I'd lost like 60, 70 pounds trying to get in shape. And he goes, go home, relax. And then he called me one day. He called me one day and says, Charles, I want you to go rent the movie Live and Let Die. And he goes, there's a voodoo character in there. It's a James Bond film, and I already knew the film, the character. I was already familiar with everything. And he goes, and most importantly, I want you to get this guy's laugh down. And when you win and when you address the people, you, he goes, I want you to, yeah, but that's where it came from. They wanted to hide my face because they thought I had a baby face.
How did you find that voice?
I don't know. I mean, I got a deep voice anyway. It was easy. You know, it's there. It's easier than hitting the Ho Train note.
The Ho Train note's way up here.
I don't think I
You're
can
a
hit
soprano.
That. I need some help to hit that.
What a range you have from the baritone to the...
Woo!
You know how many people you freaked out as a kid, especially the stuff you did with Warrior?
Oh, my God. It's so funny now because at these signings that I do now, Papa Shango has become more popular than Godfather. It's wild. And people are like, you have no idea. And people 35 to 43, somewhere in that range, were kids when I was doing that.
I'm right there.
Yeah, and they're like, dude, you have no idea how you impacted my life and how you scared me and how afraid I was of you. And I'm like, that's pretty cool.
People thought you actually cursed the Ultimate Warrior.
Yes, I mean, he was everybody's Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you,
I put him down for a minute.
You were like his kryptonite.
You know what? A lot of people... I might only be able to do this one time. A lot of people talk about him, but he was cool with me. And for him to put that gimmick over like that, I mean, that was cool of him. That was reaching. That was really reaching.
But I feel like that's what made the Papa Shango character really get over. Is like that run you had with him, that made it feel like, oh, this is real.
Yeah. I was so lost in that. It's so funny. I was so lost in that. I mean, I was so far from a voodoo man that I mean, I was literally a biker that they painted up and made a voodoo man. But the very first time I went out there, I came back and Chief Chase Strombo goes, "What was that?" I'm like, "What do you mean, what was that?" He goes, "Dude, you're out there acting like a normal wrestler and stuff." He goes, "You're a voodoo man. I want you shaking and this and that." So I actually they had to take my makeup off, repaint me up, and I had to go out and do it again with the same guy. And that's where I started shaking and doing all that stuff because anyway, I mean, that's kind of wild, isn't it?
Can you give me a little Papa Shango right now?
Warrior, once you enter my dark circle, you enter the circle of death. Beware, warrior. Beware of Papa Shango. Beware of voodoo.
Oh, it's so good.
Now I need this thing to work one time after that.
It's so good. It's funny seeing you at conventions because if it's a 2-day convention, you're Godfather one day.
Right.
You're Papa Shango the next day. Do you tell people which day they're buying?
Yeah, they let them know. They advertise.
Okay.
Usually Papa Shango first and Godfather the second.
It's like it is two completely different people, but it's wild to see it because you're interacting with people in a totally different way. The line is different. I noticed that. The line on day one. Because
Oh, my God. I'm telling you.
people have seen, I mean, with great respect for you, they've seen a lot of The Godfather. You don't do Papa Shango as often.
No, but I've been doing them. I've been signing with Boogie. Me and Boogie been signing together. And no, people, even though we're brothers in wrestling, even though we have the same last name, Wright, we are not officially brothers.
People think you guys are brothers.
Yeah, but I do love the dude, man. He's a good dude.
I got to have him on the show. I don't know. I haven't had
He'll
him.
paint up.
Oh, my gosh. So then I'm interviewing Boogeyman?
No, yes, he'll paint
Or
up.
will I talk to Marty?
No, you're going to talk to Boogeyman.
Well, that just sounds terrifying. He's going to bring worms too?
He usually does.
Oh, my gosh.
It's nasty, but he always has those worms with him.
I don't know.
I'm like, where do you get that? Where do you get the worms in St. Louis, Missouri at 8 in the morning? Where the hell are you getting worms?
I imagine he has a pretty good relationship with whoever fishing store is in town, whatever tackle shop is in town.
He must. Good dude, though. But his makeup that he wears takes like 3 hours to put on.
What?
And the same amount of hours to take off.
Oh, my
But he can
gosh.
literally jump in a pool with that on and it won't come off.
Oh, it's like latex, right?
Yes.
Man.
It's just crazy how detailed it is and stuff.
So we know that 2025 is John Cena's last year of wrestling. He's hanging him up in December after an incredible career. But will he win the Royal Rumble? The odds at MyBookie say -400 no, +250 for yes. And then as we look ahead to WrestleMania 41, who's his opponent going to be? This is his last WrestleMania that he ever competes at. Randy Orton is the favorite right now, followed by Cody Rhodes, Gunther, Braun Breaker, and then after that it's CM Punk, The Rock, and you can check out the rest of the list right there. You can also bet on will John Cena's WrestleMania 41 match be for a world title. The odds right now split at MyBookie. So you can bet on those John Cena odds, and you can also bet on every single WWE PLE, who's going to win this match, who's going to win that match, UFC, baseball, football, all of it at MyBookie. And when you sign up and use my code CVV, you'll get a 100% welcome bonus on that first deposit. Sign up now at MyBookie. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere at MyBookie.
How come Papa Shango couldn't continue? Why couldn't you have your entire career as Papa Shango?
Papa Shango went through a very, very ugly divorce. My second wife. When I went through an ugly divorce, I was in a very, very bad place. Biker Bear came out. And back then, mind you, there's no social media. There's no laptops. And I don't even think there was ESPN. So usually there's nobody taking pictures of you on your phone. You know, if they got a picture of you, they were. But I was getting into a lot of fights, real fights, and Taker was pulling me off of people, and it was getting ugly. So I went in there with Vince and Mark, and we decided it would be best if I went home and got my mind right before somebody got hurt. I know that's wild, But I was a different person back then.
And then how much longer was it until you came back to WWE?
I'm not sure. The thing about me is I always had the luxury of being either part of a strip club or part owner of a strip club. So I always had money coming in. Wrestling, that could have been one of my problems. But wrestling, for me, the money's great, but wrestling for me was to have fun. And when I was not having fun, I would go to Vince and say, hey, Vince, I'm not making much money. I'm going through the tables every night with the Dudleys. I hate this travel. I could be at home looking at naked women making just as much money. And Vince was so cool with me, man. He'd let me go. And then they would call me back, and I'd be like, nah, I'm not ready to come back. And the reason they got me to come back as Kama is they offered me a Harley. And I'm like, if I could ride a Harley, I'll come back. And then I only had it for a short time. He took it away from me because it was crazy. They were renting them at the time before Vince had, access to a bunch of Harleys. And so once they took the Harley away from me as Kama, I was done. And as Godfather, once they made me Goodfather, I was done. And then when Vince was fighting for me the whole time, believe me, bro, Vince was I'm like, Godfather, I'm fighting for you, bro. But they were getting rid of the DX and the Suck It and the Puppies and the Val Venuses, and they were going more and more PG. And finally, they could only go so far with me. So when Vince said, it's so funny because when Vince says, Charles, we're going to do this and that. And all I said was, so no more hoes? And he goes, da-da-da-da-da. All I heard was, bye-bye. And I was like, so no more hoes? He goes, Charles, no more hoes. And I'm like, well, finish me up then, bro. I'm done. He's like, wait a minute. So we agreed to work out a program, and we did that, and then I was done.
So it's the hose is it's so funny because when you watch your WWE Hall of Fame induction, they're talking about it, but they're talking around it.
Right.
They're like, he had a certain type of train, and he had, of course, the women around him. Yes.
The Godfather in his form would not last long in these times at all.
The Godfather wouldn't exist in current day wrestling, right?
No, it would offend too many people.
Yeah. It's so funny how that works.
And I was just having fun.
I think it was so funny when you would come to the ring and you'd be like, all right, you can either fight me or you can have the entire night with one of my hoes.
Oh, my God. Is that like sex trafficking now?
It's certainly something that wouldn't happen in current day wrestling.
Thank God. I'm so lucky when people compare errors and this and that and which one's better, da-da-da-da. I always tell people I'm just thankful and lucky that I was part of the Attitude Era.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a strong argument that could be made that that's the greatest era in wrestling.
Hey, I'm not here to make that argument. I'm just saying I was lucky to be the Godfather during that time.
The craziest part is your wife came up with the Godfather.
Is that crazy or what?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, everything from, I wanted to be a mean pimp. Yeah. And I wanted to be a mean one. And then she's like, no, let's go this route. And she basically said, instead of trying to act and be something that you're not, just go out there and be your high-ass, crazy, have a good time self at this point in your life. And once people see that side of you, they're going to love you because they're going to see it's genuine and you're just, you got to love the Godfather. And that's why. And I went to Vince and I told him, I'm like, Vince, these people see enough wrestling. They really do. I'd like, let me go out there and just entertain them. And that's what I did.
I can't remember who said it, but I heard a great quote, and it's so accurate. It's people remember moments, they don't remember matches. And with your career, they remember your entrance, and they remember doing the train in the ring. They remember those things.
Right.
The matches almost come secondary to all that.
Yeah, you're right. It was more about entertaining. Could I have worked? Could I work? Yes. But, I mean, that character, I really, one time Taker told me, you should be more serious to do that. And I'm like, I'm going to roll the way I'm going, bro, because I'm enjoying myself. I'm making money. I got my businesses at home. I'm cool. I'm going out as the Godfather.
How did you approach Vince with, this is my idea. I want to be a pimp that just has a blast?
I was wrestling Bradshaw, and we're wrestling every night. Nobody cared about him. Nobody cared about me.
Who were you at this time?
I was Kama Mustafa.
Yeah.
Okay, I just got out of the nation. I was just, they weren't doing nothing with me. They weren't doing nothing with Bradshaw. And so we're wrestling each other, no reaction. So one night I'm like, Jack Lands, I think, God rest his soul. Jack's the agent, and we're like, Jack, let's try something. Because now I'm growing my hair, and my hair is getting longer, and I'm kind of dressing. To me, it's more bikerish, but I always wear these hats. So the people start calling me a pimp. And so I go out there, and I just grab the mic, and I'm like, I'm just going to come out and say it. I'm a pimp. And see how I got a little reaction right there from you? I said, but what you don't know is right here in Las Vegas, man, they got some of the best hoes ever born. Okay, now I'm getting a little reaction. Now, mind you, we were getting no reaction before. And I'm like, how I know that? And I'd start pointing out people. That was one of my old, basically, I'd offer John. I'm like, listen, I didn't even have girls. I'd say in the back, in a limo right now, I got 5 of the freakiest hoes you've ever seen in your life. And I know what type of freak your cowboy ass is. I'd say I'd get into it. And so I'm like, listen, I'm going to kick your ass anyway. I'm like, why don't you take these hoes, have a good time? And I'm like, what do you people think? And now the people are like, take the hose. Take the hose. And the whole place is going, I'm like, they're telling you what to do, man. They don't want to see me and you wrestle. Take them hose. All right? I was keeping it real. And then Johnny would take them. And then I would heel on the people. And then I'd turn my back. Johnny would come back, hit me with the lariat. 1, 2, 3. I'd jump up, put my hat back on and say, man, pimping ain't easy. And see that? We went from no reaction from the people to having them chant. And so Vince heard about it. And so when we went to TV, Vince says, Charles, whatever you're doing, I hear it might have legs. And he says, you think you can get me some girls? And I'm like, really, me? Get some girls? So I grabbed Taker and the Harris boys, Ron and Don Harris. And we went to a local strip club, grabbed some girls, brought them back, put them on TV.
Do you just say, hey, do you want to be on wrestling tonight?
I don't remember. We were probably at the club the night before, Plus, I had Taker with me. They know who he is.
When you were doing this, were you still your other character? You're still an MMA fighter?
Yes. And they were calling me Godfather because one day towards the end of the run with the Nation, I told Rock, I'm like, hey, call me the Godfather, because all I did was say, power to the nation when everybody would lift their, whatever I said. And he said, call me the Godfather. So in his interviews, he started calling me the Godfather of the nation, the Godfather,
Yeah.
And then people started calling me the Godfather. Without they just started calling me the Godfather.
Did you immediately see that The Rock had something special when it came to WWE?
Yes. But I mean, I was put in the nation just because of him. I was put in the nation to make it bigger and blacker and make it more strong. Because I came in, I was supposed to be Papa Shango. And Vince literally called me to the office and says, change of plans. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, let me ask you one question. Because I'd signed a good contract.
Yeah.
I'm like, I make the same, right? And he goes, yes, you do. I'm like, well, then I'm down. I didn't want to put that face paint on anyway,
When you officially became the Godfather, how were they getting women every town that you went to?
Believe it or not, I think Bruce Pritchard at first was in charge of getting it, and then it was passed on to other people, and then it became to the point where strip clubs were calling the WWE at the time, saying, hey, we have girls for you we'd like to use, and it was, I would literally, I laughed because I was having such a good time. I would literally come in, and depending on how much time I had, I would have 6, 7 girls to choose from. And depending on how much time I had, that's how many girls I would use. So I would have my pick of the girls. It was crazy, man.
There were some wrestlers that were hoes early on, right?
I don't like to mention. I feel bad about it.
Okay, we don't need to mention names.
Yeah,
everybody that's watching.
I was just at a signing with them, and I can't even go around them now. And they were doing me a favor at the time, and I can't even go around them now because they're like, hey, look there's your hoe, there's your pimp, the Godfather. Now they're Hall of Famers and stuff. Yeah. So I stay away from that.
Yeah, and
out of respect to
if people want to look that up, it's out there. They can find that.
There was a few of them.
Man, look at you. Yeah. Wait, when did this conversation happen with Wright to Censor of like, Godfather isn't a thing anymore. You're now the Goodfather.
When it happened, when it happened, like I said, I was done. I told Vince, finish me up. And then the jokester that he is, he put the tag team belts on me and Bull and kept me there even longer. And, he was more poking fun at him. He was hoping that maybe we can get back to the Godfather in some form. And they tried to bring the Godfather back, but it didn't work because it was Godfather. I was no longer a pimp. They were no longer hoes. You couldn't talk about smoking weed. You couldn't. And people didn't want that.
Yeah.
They wanted a Godfather in rare form.
Right to Censor got a lot of heat, like from the fans. Like people hated Right to Censor. You're taking away Val Venus. You're taking away the Godfather.
On a shoot, nobody hated it more than me. Just because the fact, man, I'm telling you, as much as Ric Flair is Ric Flair, the Godfather's me. And it was just, when you took it away from me, it just like, oh, and it just took the air out of it, and I was done. I did my best, and RTC, just the music alone, had serious heat.
Yeah.
But I did my best, but that was the only time in wrestling that I really wasn't happy, and I was just waiting for it to come to an end.
So what is the real story of WrestleMania 8 and everything that happened there?
Oh, keep going.
If you read some headlines, they will say...
If you read some headlines, okay, let me read these headlines.
You missed
I might want to hit this before we go there. Hopefully it works one more time.
The headlines, the story may say, depending on where you look, that you missed your cue.
The story and
so let's set the record straight.
Okay, let me get right here for a second.
Okay.
Just to deal with this,
with a smile on his face.
All right. I'm Papa Shango. All right. I'm just happy to be there, and they're building me, and I got thrown in that position. So they tell me I think it was where was it? Indy?
I think
wherever it was a long run. So they tell me, do not go. And it was Gorilla Monsoon. He, God rest his soul, but I'll say his name now. It was Gorilla Monsoon. That's why you always hear gorilla position. And he said, do not go until we tell you to go. And so I'm sitting there like, okay, and all I knew is what I had to do when I got there, what I had to do. What happened before that, after that, I wasn't concerned with. I just knew what I had to do when I got there. And so I'm sitting there like a track star waiting to go. And then all of a sudden he goes, oh, go. They gave me a late cue. And they're not used to giving people cues. They're used to us being professionals and taking off on your own.
Yeah.
So he forgot for a minute.
And that was that.
That was that.
Why do people think it was on you?
Well, I mean, I don't know. You'd have to ask them. But the funny thing is, I never heard about it ever from anybody until I was done wrestling, doing autograph signings, and people would be like, hey, what happened? Why were you late? And I'm like, what do you mean was I late? Because, I never watched the match after. I just knew what I had to do when I got there. And, yeah. And so I never heard about it till later. The reason I never heard about it was because it wasn't my fault. And the person, Gorilla, probably is like, I gave him the cue late. Damn, sorry.
and then it is what it is.
I ran as fast as I could. It was a long run.
And then that's it. It is what it is.
There you go.
When you're at these signings, what's the question that keeps popping up for you?
The guys are where the hoes at.
And your response?
Do you really want me to say what I say when they say that? I say, usually when they're smart asses like, hey, Godfather, where's the hoes? I usually say, them bitches are working. That's where them motherfuckers are. And then they look at me like, okay. But that's usually my fucking response.
And then if any women come up, what are they saying?
I love you. We love you. I want to be one of your hoes. It was so cool. We used to watch Loving You on TV. Oh, my God, can I take a picture? Oh, you're my like that.
Yeah.
You get a lot of love.
Yeah, a lot of love.
You don't get much hate.
Did you think that you were going to get the call for the Hall of Fame when you got it?
No. I'm like, they'd have to make a special category for me.
What do you mean?
Pimp.
Come on, no.
It's so
legend.
Mark Carano called me, and I'm still under a Legends contract with the WWE. I've been on it since 2003. I've been on a Legends contract, and that's a long time.
Yeah.
And I go to back then. You'd go to WrestleMania every year. You might not see you on TV, but you were doing signings and what have you. And so I was on my way to the gym, and Mark Carano called me, and he's like, "You coming to WrestleMania, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm coming. You know that." He's like, "You bringing your family?" I'm like, "Well, why would I bring my family?" I'm like, "No, I'm just coming by myself, bro." He's like, "Well, I just want to let you know this is the first time you're on the ballot, and Vince said definitely we're putting you in the Hall of Fame." And I'm like, "No way, really?" And yeah, that's how the call came. So that was really cool, man.
Did they let you decide who's going to induct you?
No.
They decided.
I asked for Taker. And they're like, "Well, at this point, we can't use him and this and that. How about Ron and John?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. I'm cool with them. They know a lot about me."
It's a legendary career. And when you think about it, how many characters in total from start to finish did you portray?
5.
It's 5? So let's
5.
go through them all. We start with Soultaker, is it?
Oh, that's 6. I was just talking about the WWE.
No, like very start of your career.
I was Soultaker. I worked in the Carolinas with George Scott as Baron Samedi. I was with Cowboy Bob Orton. Then I was Sir Charles. And then I was Papa Shango, Kama Mustafa, Godfather, Goodfather.
8.
Yes.
Man. And all the time being Charles.
Well, the Godfather being Charles.
Do you run into trademark issues with the Godfather, with the films?
Actually, I own Godfather and Papa Shango. Even though I'm under a Legends, I've trademarked both of those.
WWE didn't have the trademarks?
Apparently, they let it go. And when they let it go, I picked it up. So, they let a lot of guys at my era, they let the trademarks go. They didn't protect it. And so Mike Dawkins, my lawyer, he called me right away. And he's like, hey, you need to jump on this right away. I got Papa Shango right away. And it took a while. It took 2 tries on Godfather because of the movie. So we had to separate a little bit on some merchandise and stuff. But I got that too. But the WWE has never messed with me about using my name ever.
What about the movie studio?
Never.
Huh.
No.
Do you ever get tagged on Instagram? Like, I'm watching the movie The Godfather.
Always. Always.
And they're tagging you.
Because I'm the Godfather.
Yeah, right.
So if they put The Godfather, it's going to come up me instead of just Godfather.
I'm watching The Godfather. What a classic movie.
Right to me. I've seen every scene 100 times.
I bet. What's your favorite one?
I'd say, but it get me in trouble.
Well, maybe it's the offer.
People might look at me different.
Oh, okay. Then we'll just go with the an offer you can't refuse.
There we go. That's come on. That's the Godfather.
Classic. That is it's amazing that's the Godfather, and sitting right here in front of me is a very different Godfather.
Much different.
Much different.
I don't hurt nobody.
No. And nobody really has anything bad to say about you.
And that's not a bad way to go.
It's a pretty great way to be. And that's pretty rare in wrestling.
Yes, it is. I think because, like I said, wrestling for me was fun. It wasn't political for me. I wasn't trying to take nobody's spot. I was just out there having fun, being me. And I always had another means of making money, which made it easy to do that.
You seem like the type of person that you were willing to just do whatever made sense for the story. Oh, you want that person to beat me? Yeah, okay. Sounds great.
Like I said, I wasn't there for that reason. I was getting paid and being paid well to do a role. And I did that role. I wasn't there to fight with them. Hey, a couple of times I'm like, well, this doesn't make sense. And they rethought things. But for the most part, hey, you're paying me. I'm not here to fight with you. And they were cool with me. They could have really damaged me a lot, and they didn't.
I think people might not remember, at over the age 99, you were supposed to be Owen Hart's opponent.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How did you find out the news of this match can't happen now?
I don't remember much of it. I remember being behind I remember spending the day with Owen. I remember talking with the girls, and then Owen was coming out. I never seen it, but when that happened, I was behind the curtain with the girls going through don't worry, everybody show this. Don't worry if you mess up, if you fall, I'll do this. I was telling that. And then whoever it was, it might have been Bruce Pritchard. I don't know who was sitting at the table. I know it wasn't Jim Ross, I don't think. He goes, Owen fell. And then I'm like, what? And he goes, Owen just fell. And I'm like, we looking at the monitor, I'm like, Owen fell. And then it all went down. I just remembered what Owen looked like when he came through the curtain. And other than that, bro, I really don't. My wife, I called my wife right away, and she tells me a lot of things that I said that I don't remember. But she tells me, she said, you said this and you said that. And I'm like, wow, I don't remember that. So it was a blur after that. I don't remember how or when I found out that there was no match or if it was going on. I really don't remember.
But it must have been like a spur of the moment thing where you're about to go out, and then it's like, well, hold on a second, we've got to figure out this situation and see where we're going to go from here.
Like I said, I remember more about the next night, and then they had set up matches, and Vince saying, you guys, I'm going to set these matches up. If you want to work, work. If you don't want to work, don't work. But I got a show to do, basically. And I was matched up against Road Dogg. And without any rehearsal, we went out there and we didn't know what we're going to do. And we both basically said, screw this, man. Let's go downtown and smoke a joint for Owen and let it go at that. And that's what we did.
Wow. I feel like weed is the through line of your life. Like it feels like good or bad that's gotten you through.
It's made me a better person, and it keeps the bear away.
We don't like Bear?
Bear's mean, man. Bear's not a nice person, and he doesn't come out too often, but it's better to just keep him away.
When Taker calls you Bear, does a little bit of you kind of go, oh yeah, he's still in there?
He gets mad at me. He gets mad at me. We're sitting there eating. He's like, all right, everybody understands you eat healthy. Why don't you have something to eat one time? I'm like, dude, I don't want that. And so we're talking about, I'm like, Taker, he goes, stop sitting there scaring people. And I'm like, I don't scare people no more, bro. He's like, yes, you do. Yes, you do. You still scare people. I'm like, dude, let it go.
You're a big dude. Like people, I don't know if they realize you're a big dude.
I was never a bully, but I took nothing, no crap, no, mind you, I'm dealing with real bikers, not these pretend bikers. I'm around real bikers, and I'm the only black guy, and I do just been in a lot of fights. A lot of fights.
I think the telltale sign of how big you are is you're one of the few wrestlers who steps over the top rope when you get into the ring.
Yes, I got long legs. I got lots of, you need long legs to do that.
Like there's only a handful, I think, when you think about it, there's only a handful of people who do the step over the top rope.
I got that 38-inch inseam.
Jeez.
Yeah, I'm short. I mean, if we're sitting down, you're probably taller than me, but if we sit, I've got long legs.
They are long legs, yeah. Did you have to ask for permission to do that entrance?
It was the only reason I did it is because Papa Shango had the hat, the skull, the cape. I couldn't go between the ropes. I had to step over it. That's the only way I could get into the ring. And my legs were long enough that I could step over it.
Because it was like a trademark thing.
Andre,
Undertaker, Big Show.
Test started doing, and they told him to stop doing it.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they said, but they never bothered me about it. But dude, I got to pass on so many things. Believe me, they have been better to me than I've been to them. I should have been fired 100 times, and they've been so cool with me over the years, and they're still making action figures, and I'm still in, so it's a blessing.
What should you have been fired for that you weren't fired for?
Oh. Okay. One time we were in. It's when Vince had something to do with Titan motorcycles, right? And that's Taker was just learning the bikes, and the Harris boys, I was out there kind of teaching them how to do certain things on bikes. So I'm like, hey guys, watch this. So I put the front wheel of this Titan motorcycle, and these things had like 120 horsepower. I think they were like 98-inch bikes or 102 inches. And I put the front wheel up against the wall. And I start going through the gears. So now that back tire is just, and I'm in fourth gear, I'm in fifth gear, all of a sudden I get a tap on the shoulder, and I look over and it's Vince. So Vince, I turn it down, there's smoke everywhere, like Papa Shango just came to the ring. And Vince goes, Charles, would you do that to your motorcycles? And I said, no. He goes, then why are you doing it to mine? I mean, it was stuff like that. And then I'd never heard about it again, One time I came down an elevator with a friend of mine in L.A., and back then you could smoke in elevators. There was no cameras. There was no fire alarms. You're going back a while. So me and a friend of mine are smoking in the elevator. We go down, whatever. We go down. The elevator opens up. There's Vince, Bruce Pritchard, Jerry, Briscoe, I think Shane, and they're all just looking at me, and it's like a Cheech and Chong movie, the smoke coming out of the elevator. You know what Vince says? Charles, I think we'll take the next one. I mean, should you been maybe fired for, dude, just a lot of stuff like that were just me having fun being me. But for whatever reason, they allowed it.
And maybe it's because you didn't care. Like if you got fired, you just go back to making money somewhere else.
That maybe that they knew that I didn't give that. Ron Sid would say that because they know you don't care, and they're making money off of you, and they don't care. They know you don't care. That's true though.
How did you get Ice-T to do your entrance theme?
He wasn't my choice. Mine was Exhibit. Nothing against Ice-T, but I talked to Snoop. And Snoop's like, hey, man, I got this new kid coming up, Exhibit and stuff. And he goes, you should do his music. And by the time that I called Vince about it, Vince was like, no, we're doing the pimp of all pimps, Ice-T. And so that was his choice.
Pimpin' ain't easy, man.
Pimpin' ain't easy, man.
It's a great theme.
Hey.
It came out with you two, right? It came out with you?
Me and D-Lo.
Yeah.
I don't know what WrestleMania that was, but one of them.
What do you think your legacy is when you look back at everything you've done over the last 30-plus years?
As wrestling?
Yeah.
It'd be the Godfather, being the entertainer and entertaining the people that I was. I think a lot of people might remember Shango, such as yourself. And I don't think it'll be the Nation. I don't think it'll be any other stuff. I think it'll be the Godfather, because I don't think you will ever, ever, ever see another character like that again. For good or bad. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but for whatever reason, you'll never see another character like me again.
The great thing about The Godfather is as soon as that music hit, it was impossible not to have a smile on your face.
I'm telling you, that's why I'm smiling now, man. It makes me laugh. And when I see these clips, I'm like, man, I was having a great time.
Yeah.
And still am.
Yeah. It's always so good to see you. Thank you for coming back on the show.
Man. Thank you for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be around you, and especially in Texas. We had a great time there.
Oh, there's a lot of stories from that dinner that we
were
not get shared.
I don't remember. I think that Midian, oh my God, Midian. I think Midian and Mark were ordering bottles of wine, but other than that, I don't think there was a lot more going on.
Stag Leap, that was some very good cab.
I had a couple glasses of it, but I didn't eat no bread.
I ate a lot of food.
How about Matt?
Oh, yeah. Jeez. Oh, Undertaker's co-host, Matt Lyda.
My God.
That guy's like a professional eater.
He can eat.
Yeah, he's like, oh, yeah, yesterday I ate 84 chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
What?
I'm up here. I can only eat half a chicken breast and water.
That swine dream, I think it was like the pork belly wrapped in the...
It looked good.
Wrapped in the bacon. That was so good.
I never tried it. I didn't try any of it.
And then when the dessert menu came around, I'm like, man.
Did you order dessert?
Of course I did.
I didn't.
So did Taker. We both had the banana cream pie.
Oh, that's right.
He was trying to give you a spoonful, and you're like, no, not having it.
With me, and especially because of the amount of cannabis that I smoke and THC I take in, you got to say no. You got to say no. If you go in there and get the M&Ms or the Captain Crunch, or you get any of that stuff and you start, you're done. You're done.
What happens if we get you and RVD and Matt Riddle all together?
I will say this. If they smoke as much as me, they have issues. And I know them both. God bless them. But I don't think, hey, they're smokers.
Yeah.
I just seen Matt a couple of days ago. I see RVD. But I have issues. If you smoke as much as me, you got serious issues. Only person is a guy named GW with GWC. He's the only person I talk to. I don't know if you know who that is.
No.
It's the world's greatest wrestling collection. He has a wrestling collection bigger than in Detroit.
Yes, I know who that is.
Yes. When the WWE can't find something or needs, he has it, believe me.
Jeez.
Okay? I talked to him this morning, and I admitted to him, because somebody asked, who smokes more, you or him? I smoke an ounce of weed a week. He smokes an ounce of weed a day.
Oh, my God.
I do about 2 grams of concentrates a day. He does like 4 or 5. So I don't know anybody in this world that smokes. I'm like, dude, you smoke more than me. You got issues.
This is like that scene from Wolf of Wall Street where Matthew McConaughey's like, you got to bump those up. Those are rookie numbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's probably why he's thinking of you.
Hey, I stay medicated. I am, people say that I am the most productive stoner they've ever met in their life because it really makes me want to do things.
Man, it's hard not to smile when you're around you. It's great.
Thank you. Thank you.
What are 3 things in your life that you're grateful for? It's the question I end every interview with.
My family, my dogs, and the fact that I've met a lot of good people through wrestling, man, such as Taker and Ron Simmons and RVD and D'Lo Brown and Teddy Long and Bradshaw. And I've met so many friendships that I haven't wrestled for over 20 years, but yet I text these guys all the time, and when you see them, man, it's just great to be around them and tell those stories, which have become lies now. But and I'm grateful for that because I've met so many good friends through that.
Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story.
No, never.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Yo, pleasure being on the show.